Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Well, yesterday the news broke that ASUU has been ordered, the Academic Staff Union of Universities has been ordered to end its strike and return to work. This followed, an application by government who had taken ASUU to court and had asked for this ruling so as to enable people move to the next stage, which is the substantive suit that is already before the courts. But so here we are. It's going to affect every ASUU member. Even the National Association of Nigerian Students put out a statement saying that they didn't see eye to eye with the decision of the judge, but it is the situation now. ASUU has been ordered back to court, and so we'll be hearing from members of ASUU, those it directly affects, what's the next step. Already people have been mooting the idea of, to play this court game, because there are those who are saying that maybe government shouldn't have gone to court in the first instance. But to play this court game, ASUU can appeal, and probably is working towards that. So we'll see how it goes. But first, a background report that went out earlier.
The Minister of Labour and Employment on behalf of the federal government had filed a suit before the court by way of referral. Counsel to federal government James Igwe, in his submission, had informed the court that the application for interlocutory injunction was brought in pursuant to the rules of the court. He noted by provisions of Section 18, subsection 1E of the Trade Dispute Act 2004 that a worker should not embark on strike when the matter is already before the court. He therefore urged the court to grant the injunction. Counsel to the defendant Femi Fanana on his part submitted that the minister lacked the powers to order the court in the referral to direct ASUU to call up its strike. He insisted that the claimant did not follow due process in Part 1 of TIDA 2004 that stipulated that only an individual has the right to approach the court, as a trade union would first need to go to the Industrial Arbitration Panel before coming to the court. Delivering ruling, Justice Polycarp Haman held that the balance of confidence is on the claimant, who is the owner of the universities, and stand to lose more if the strike continues. Students have been victims of the industrial action, and their overall interest is important.
The ruling by the Honorable Court is very consistent with rule of law. It's also a recognition of the fundamental role that education plays in development, in national development, in economic development. And also, it recognizes the fact that without education, there will be no rule of law.
Well, the judgment has come. It has come. The court has ruled that members of ASUU are restrained from continuing the strike action, and that they should return back to the classrooms pending the determination of the substantive suit. As per the next action, there are quite a number of options open to.
Reacting to this judgment, Pro-Chancellor and Chairman Governing Council, University of Abuja, said lecturers should not be forced back to the classroom.
And court orders and fiat instructions or directives do not solve a crisis. What you need to do is to settle down and dialogue more. And I believe ASUU is prepared to concede in more. Federal government is also, Mr. President did say he is going to consult more and get back to the Committee of Pro-Chancellors.
Justice Haman, who is a vacation judge, ordered that the case file be returned to the President of the Industrial Court for reassignment to another judge. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, then. So that's the background. It's long been in the public space. After all, this is a strike going back to February. But now the judge has ruled in favor of a government. This was, of course, it wouldn't have been agreeable to the Council of ASUU, Femi Falana, S-A-N, who called it wrong and scandalous. And as I said before, the National Association of Nigerian Students also have taken exception, and they say if anybody were to be compelled, that is NANS, if anybody was to be compelled into anything, perhaps the court might have ruled that the government needs to be compelled to abide by the agreements that they have already made with ASUU. And that seems to be the crux of the matter. But the Minister of Labour has said that, look, the mere fact that this decision came down doesn't mean that negotiations with ASUU will stop. So, what do you think? Before we get our guests to tell us what their perspective is as university people themselves who are directly affected by this, what do you think? Because in the course of talking about this, you can imagine if the strike has been on since February, there would have been numerous times we've spoken about this. And you find that some people are calling in, calling for the situation that we have right now. Other people are saying, hold fast to it. That is to, your decisions not to, work, because it seems to be the only thing, as far as they are concerned, that government really will take seriously. We have a caller, I believe. No, I think that's the sound of losing of that particular call. We lost that particular connection. So sorry about that. The caller might want to try in again. So there is that situation. I imagine everybody has a position over this. People have called in from diaspora on this whole matter because the whole world is concerned. And as you know, the judge had determined that, look, this has to be the way he handed the decision down, has to be, because students in public universities were at a definite disadvantage that had to be repaired. Of course, as you know, even though ASUU has been on strike, people might say that that means universities are on strike, but not all universities in Nigeria are closed. Some are up and running. And the point seems to have been taken that not everybody can afford to be in one of those universities. The mainstay should be the public universities, and this is the situation we have. Good morning, Mr. George, and thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling. Good morning.
Uncle Yori, I personally do not think going to court will bring about the solution. If you go to court and the court says they should go back and they do not go back, what do? We cannot manufacture lecturers overnight and just put them there. Let dialogue continue. How can lecturers be on strike for 7 months? Uncle Yori, 7 months is too long to resolve one single issue. What is it that we cannot resolve? 7 months?
Yeah.
As for something, the bone of contention is that government made a promise which was not fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Yes, you may have reasons why you couldn't fulfill a promise. You call the parties involved, and then explain where there is sincerity of purpose. There will always be understanding on the part of the other person. If you don't have the means, state why you don't have the means, and convince them that you are making efforts to improve it. I listened to one of the lecturers who was talking on a TV show, and he said the government keeps shaping the goalpost. And when agreements are reached, when it is time to implement it, it will change the post. It's not good like that. It's for the betterment of our children's children. Let the government take it seriously. I'm not saying sincerity of purpose. I'm sorry to say, but that's what I can see.
Yeah. But the Minister of Labor has said that negotiations will continue, perhaps indicating some the seriousness that you were talking about.
We have been seeing in the discussions the minister has been having with the ASUU members. Sometimes they walk out of the meeting.
Yeah. That
doesn't tell me that this is a man that has negotiating skill. They are lecturers. They are not people you just trample upon anyhow. If you want to tell them something, it has to be reasonable. And if it is not reasonable, you don't expect them to just agree. Okay. They are not talking to children.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much, Mr. George, for calling in from Lagos. And now we are ready with Comrade Austin Sado. Comrade Austin Sado is the National Investment Secretary of ASUU, and he joins us via Zoom. Good morning to you, Comrade.
Good morning, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Our pleasure. And, well, of course, we want to get your reaction to the legal state of affairs now.
Well, the reaction is that the court has spoken. And usually when a court gives a judgment, it's for compliance. In this case, there are 3 options that are open to anybody, not just ASUU. Anybody who has this kind of injunction against him or her will have 3 options. The first option is just to move ahead with the directives of the injunction. If it, in this case, go back to work. The other option is to say, look, I do not agree with this. Then you can appeal. And when you appeal and get a stay of execution, then the appellate court has to determine whether or not the injunction has to be obeyed.
Okay.
But then you can also decide that the options open already, which is actually what I think is the reasonable thing. The avenues that have been opened through the visitation of the Committee of Pro-Chancellors and the intervention of the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives to deal with this expeditiously will be the best option.
Okay.
But then,
you know, I'll tell you what, comrade. Comrade, I beg your pardon for interrupting you, but I'll come straight back to you. A viewer has called in. Good morning, Mazi Okorafo in Arochukwu. Well, I'm sorry, Comrade Sado. Please carry on. Please carry on, Comrade.
So, yeah, so it is for the legal counsel to have a review of the judgment, and both parties determine what happens.
Okay.
So that's my reaction to that.
I wonder the extent to which you think it resonated when the judge said that students were at a definite disadvantage of serious injury that must be modified now by the order that he set down, whatever else be under consideration. The fact that he was motivated mostly by the plight of students. Do you think when you come to discuss this internally, that might be a strong plank to explore?
Students have always been in the loop. Students have always been a major factor of consideration when we go on strike. And as you have heard from NANS through their actions and their press releases, they understand that this is not just about us. And so students, the revitalization of the university basically benefits students. And they have clearly said this to Nigerians, that look, we understand what these people are asking for. Government should do something to give us a comfortable or convenient environment for study. And all the time that we have had this engagement with government, it's always been in the forefront. And it's not going to be different this time around. It's not the first time, it's not the beginning when students will be considered when we discuss with government on issues of universities. And they will always be considered.
Okay, comrade. Thank you. We've since been joined by Dr. Dan Ekere, Department of Philosophy, University of Lagos. A fine morning to you, Dan.
Thank you, sir. Morning to you too.
Indeed. Thank you very much for making the time for us this morning. Most people in ASUU are directly affected by what I really meant by that is that you guys go into the classroom. That's what your work is, among others, but that's the most visible aspect of it. These guys teach. And now, as one of those guys, how do you feel about what I refer to as the legal state of affairs now? ASUU is now compelled by law to return to the classroom.
Thank you, Uncle Yori. It's an interesting situation, but I'm not surprised, really, because the elementary knowledge I have of government is that it's made up of 3 arms, and the judiciary is one of them. So if the government is fighting that ASUU must go back to classroom, and the judiciary has eventually made an order telling ASUU to go, it's the same government. as far as I'm concerned, there's really no difference.
Well,
You see, but
different tiers of government, all
Yeah,
independent from each other.
They are not really.
Okay.
If you call them, who appointed the Chief Justice? Yeah, none of that. So where lies the independence of a
But
sort?
sometimes they rule against those who appointed them.
They could. But then they have the same objective, which is government.
Okay.
Yes, so they work together. You know, sometimes there could be disagreement. Yeah, but they work together. You see, but the most important thing is that now they ordered us back to classroom. They didn't order us on what to say when we get to the class. They equally did not order us how to set exams. They did not order us how to teach. You know, so
They'll be going by the templates that exist already, is what I imagine.
So this is a challenge. The template has been the main challenge. That is why we said, government, come and see what is going on, address this issue so that the system can be better. I think the most important thing really would have been that, okay, but I'm not still surprised because that's not part of the court system we operate. You know, it's not like the African situation where a case is being decided, you address all aspects. This one is, okay, what you took to court is what they will, you know, deliberate on and all the rest. Now that you've done this, has it made the situation better? It has not. You know, so I'm thinking that the right thing would have been that the government, if truly is serious about the state of affairs on how to make the system work better, then they should have done the needful. And they know the needful. Because don't forget that needs assessment was not a creation of ASUU. It was a government creation. The needs assessment, you know, a committee that brought out that report was actually put in place by Dr. Goodluck Jonathan's administration, based on the demands of ASUU that we need to revitalize the system, and this is what will be needed. Eventually, when that committee was set up, the committee came up with a report that was even far higher than what ASUU was asking for. That if we must revitalize the system, it will go beyond what ASUU has asked for. Because you get to some schools, maybe because we're in Lagos, you visit University of Lagos, you think that's the standard. Yes, go around other schools and see what is going on. You will know that we're in a terrible situation. So I'm thinking that, yes, this order is just one of it, but the most important thing will be to address the issues holistically. Indeed. If that is not done, this one will not help any matter.
Well, as I pointed out to your comrade, Austin Sado, calling, you know, on Zoom, the judge said the balance of convenience tilts in favor of the applicant, that is government. And this is mainly because it's also written that once an issue is before the industrial court, the parties cannot be, no party can be on strike anymore.
Good.
And so, you know, quite frankly,
yes,
it's a legal thing.
Yes, but it does not address the injustice of the issue. Because
but the minister has said that discussions will continue. The negotiations will continue.
You need to ask yourself, how long will these discussions take place? Why did they not take place earlier? And even when they started, how come they dragged for so long? If the intention of discussion has actually been the issue, why go to court? Why not do the discussions? At a point, there were issues, okay, we've got to this point, to the point that even the National Assembly has eventually come in. All those discussions, you didn't do them. You say, okay, you set up different committees that have given you reports. You've not acted on any. All right, so how is this discussion going to hold? Is it that you want to impose something or what? I keep hearing the argument, oh, the government does not have money, but we have money to fund all other things that are not as important. I listened to the counsel to the government saying that this decision, you know, it was necessary because it will, you know, lead to development of the educational system. How do you is it by going back to classroom that will develop it? We've been in the classroom over the years.
Yeah, but a hiatus from the classroom for half of the year is not going to be helping.
But being in the classroom
the gains already made in that direction.
What gains have they really
Well, you guys have been slaving over the decades.
That has been the issue.
You have it up to
But
here.
that shouldn't be. That shouldn't be. Because we go to other places. We see what happens in other places. I don't know how many people are ready to come from outside to work here. I don't know. We are always the ones who want to go out. Why is this so? Would you ask yourself, why is our situation like this? You know, it's really very challenging.
Let me see if Comrade Austin, at the other end, the National Investment Secretary of ASUU, Well, you've heard what your colleague Daniel Kere and his perspectives on the matter, but that question of looking out for the interests, which you've already addressed, I think that for the interests of the students, that look, they've always been a part of it, but there's so much that has gone in, and maybe people were getting strike fatigue, because on our program, we've gotten commentary from national viewers and viewers in the diaspora, and some of them are saying there needs to be a compromise somewhere. Is it that they don't really understand? And by the way, these are not outsiders. They are within your fold, meaning that some of them actually university teachers themselves. I don't know, they might not be members of ASUU, but they have said that, there's a time to sort of take a break and continue to explore. Do you buy any of that kind of thinking at all, comrade?
Yeah, I think my first reaction is to ask those patriotic Nigerians, the diaspora Nigerians who are making those kind of contributions to just come back home. Let's build our country. Why are they there? Let them come home. Many of them were actually trained here with the facilities we had, which were comparable with most universities across the world. They decided to leave. And you can be sure that even with this injunction and during the period of the strike, many more people are leaving. So you're cutting your nose to spite your face. The issue of going back and not going back is not the issue. What brought about this strike? It is the neglect of the system by government. And by extension, government's failure to also obey or implement agreements he entered with the union. Why are those diaspora not addressing that? Why are those concerned Nigerians, why are they not addressing this issue? If the problem were to be strike, then the problem will have been resolved by this injunction by the court. But has the problem been resolved? The obvious answer is no. So no. Why are we not talking about how to make our universities competitive? How to make our universities conducive environment for research and learning? Those are the issues at the root of this strike. So once you deal with them, the strike will go away. And you're not going to solve this problem by forcing lecturers back to school. So if you force them back to school, have you solved the problem?
Can I talk a bit about that? Because Daniel Kere in studio has touched on it very briefly. This whole matter about you've said what you've said, but you've not told us the modus operandi. You don't know all of that. So I was going to ask you, since there's no question, ASUU has to be obedient to the law. So I imagine that this is it. So it might want to appeal or whatever. But how does that work? This, no doubt, is not satisfactory to ASUU. I think in the words of your counsel, Femi Falana, SAN, he called it wrong and scandalous. That probably just about wraps it up for ASUU. But how is this going to be implemented? Because lecturers will go back. Lecturers are matured minds. They won't. I don't imagine a lecturer will get in front of a class and begin to drag his feet. So how does it work? How, in being law obedient, how is this going to work? Give me your perspective before I ask Dan.
I wish I could give you a universal response to that. Lecturers are free agents who have been taught in different areas of life endeavor, professionals in their own court.
Sure.
So methodology would differ. And I am in media studies. My methodology of delivery will be different from the methodology of delivery in the teaching in the health faculty of health sciences. It will be different also in the faculty of maybe computer engineering or management science or whatever. So I think that everybody understands what his responsibility and roles are when they get into the class. So thinking about how it will work is actually not the problem. What is the problem is that whatever it's done to get lecturers back to class has not solved the problem. Whether or not they teach is a different issue. But have you solved the problem? The reason for which this strike was declared? The answer is no. Should it be resolved? Yes. What mechanism should be adopted? Is the court the best option? In my view, no. And I said earlier on that there are several avenues already opened to resolve this and get it decided in good time. I imagine that if, without saying that is the option, that if you go to court now to contest this interlocutory injunction, it could last us another 6 months. It could last us another 1 year, because the process will, until that interlocutory the judgment is completely dealt with. You do not go into the substantive issue. How long is it going to take? So if you keep students in school, and when people talk about students, they forget that many of our younger colleagues are also students. They forget that we are parents and that we have children. I have children in the university and they are at home. As a parent, I wish that they were in school. But I have an understanding of what the system is. I will expect that those who are speaking from outside should take a tour of our university. How many of them actually go to visit their wards, their children, and see the halls of residence, and see the classroom, and see the facilities, and visit the laboratories to see facilities that their children are being exposed to?
Okay.
Maybe if they do, rather than asking ASUU to go back, maybe they should have even provided those facilities. Because as far as I'm concerned, if they provide facilities, whether it is provided by donors or it's provided by government and is there, then there will be no ground for strike.
Okay. So that question that I was, it amused me a bit to ask. Lecturers now must go back to school, go back to their classes, and you said earlier that that might have been dictated, but haven't dictated, other aspects of the job. What does that imply? I mean, lecturers have to be law-abiding, and lecturers are going to give their best at any time. So, am I putting thoughts into your mind that you haven't expressed yourself? How do you think it's going to work then?
Well, we're actually fighting to get the best. Are you getting it? Now you are saying we can't be at our best without what we're asking for. You need tools to work. All right,
and those tools are not there. And that goes back to what Comrade Sado was saying.
The same condition.
Has the issue been affected?
Not at all.
At all?
So it's not a question. You see, what people don't realize is that lecturers and the classroom are like fish and water.
They need each other.
Yes, the moment you're out of that place, there is a feeling you get, not to talk of when it lasts this long, you're outside. It's like you've been taken away, the fish taken away from the water. But again, they equally need to understand that the job is not all about the classroom.
I know that.
Yes, lecturers have been conducting researches over the period. So
it's just that the classroom is the most visible.
This is the one that is visible. And you see, it is equally interesting to know that you are not even promoted based on the classroom work.
Is that right?
Yes, the effect of the classroom when it comes to promotion is very minimal. So the overemphasis of the classroom as if that is all that we do is really very shocking, because the main work is the research you conduct. At best, your delivery now, try to impact it on society. That is where we are now focusing on. But then the work has been going on. A lot of people have been researching. Okay. Publications have been going on and all of that. So when we look at it from the point of view of just the classroom, it becomes really challenging. And the idea is that, okay, the classroom of a thing, those things you need to do your work in order to be able to deliver.
Simply,
they're not there.
They don't exist.
Now, what about the laboratories? Even the students themselves, rooms that used to be for maybe 1 or 2 persons, you now find 20 to how many students there? What kind of life do you expect them to live? All right, so a lot of the things you find happening in society are actually part of the reflections of what is happening there as well. So we've been talking about a lot of things. Just like the police, when you go to some barracks, you begin to wonder how you expect that people who live in these places will actually do the kind of work you are expecting them to do. The same thing with the university. Yeah, when you don't get the right environment, you will get the right results.
You're right. And what you say is instructive is that the court didn't, well, it is we the public, perhaps, that are putting emphasis on ASUU members are mostly teachers. And so that's where the classroom came.
Yes.
But the court said, call off the strike.
Yes.
And all that entails.
Yes.
So, but even as the strike has been on, I think you've been talking about other less visible duties of lecturers, which does not exclude research. In the period of the strike, surely, because the research is developmental to the lecturers themselves, that wouldn't have stopped.
So it is part of the system. It's part of the job, you know. And this one I'm doing is equally part of it too, this community service. We've been doing all of this.
Okay, let's hear from Jared. Good morning, Jared.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much. My regards to your guest.
Okay, then.
Okay, Uncle Yori. Can you hear me, sir?
Not very well, but they'll help me out soon. But please continue.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Continue.
Okay,
I'll
so
make.
here is the thing, if you can
I'll
hear me.
make it out.
Yes, if you can hear me very well. I don't know what our challenge is as a nation.
Okay.
And I am
Can
not
hear you well now.
taking a side in all this conversation between ASUU and government. You know we have been here forever. I don't know why we do the same thing over and over expecting a different result. Now, ASUU and its member can come, and I would like to say respectfully, play the victim, keep all the blames on government, but our problem will continue. Give us what it wants presently at the moment. Let government concede to everything. They go back, it will not solve our problem. The truth is, Uncle Yori, I expected us to face our problem where it is hurting us. We need a holistic education reform in Nigeria. So continue to think that government can fund university education, provide every infrastructure with every other challenge we face in the nation. It is just living with respect in a food island. Now, what do I mean? United States of America, as rich and as powerful as it is, does not fund, all its education. It suits us to borrow from there for them to deny the obvious when it doesn't suit us. Apart from military universities like Navy, Air Force, and others, the United States of America is in charge 100% of just two other universities, Howard University and the District of Columbia University. ASUU members know this. The other intervention is through bursary, loans, and grants to students. We all heard it and we're shocked when we heard that Barack Obama had just paid his loans just after becoming president. That's the way to go now. The government should be held responsible for basic education. And then the university education, we must begin to face it the way it can be sustainable, which is we have to pay for it. We have gotten to that point. The age when government was paying everything, that time has gone. Then the population is not as much as it is. The demand for university degree is not as much as it is now. Our resources, we could manage more now. It is holistic reform so that the autonomy of universities, ASUU will take it seriously. By law, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
But by law, despite the madness we do in Nigeria, we respect, government is not the employer of ASUU by law. That autonomy should be taken seriously so that ASUU will begin to charge more for university education, whereas we go into technical education. After basic education, you can become useful.
Okay.
It is a holistic reform that is the solution. If not, give ASUU everything it wants now. 4 years, 5 years, with the crisis in the global economy, we will return to this same place. I expected ASUU to know that this is the way to go. And I heard one professor, a certain Professor Saad, advocate this, but they won't take it seriously. Let us face our real issue so that we solve this once and for all. This way, professors will be paid 3 million, while the others will be paid better. Infrastructure will be taken care of. Government will play its own limited part by, granting. I heard that there was a proposal for education bank. I hear the ASUU, I don't know how correct, that they are not accepting it. They are not living up to the challenge of autonomy or semi-autonomy for greater charges. And we argue, hey, the children of the poor will not go to school. Come on. There was a time we could do this respectfully. I don't think we can sustain it. Right now, moving forward. We can say corruption. You will not fix corruption problem in a day. ASUU has not been able to fix its own internal corruption issue.
Okay.
So even when we get a near-perfect government and address the issue of corruption, it will still be there because you will only find a corrupt-free environment in heaven.
Okay, Gerald, I think we're going to have to leave it there, but I want to thank you very much for calling in and giving us this perspective. And Comrade Austin Sado, I don't know how encouraged you are, that is looking at it, you know, of course you're one of the parties, you know, being a member of ASUU, but the fact that the minister says this is not the end of it, all of the ideas of Gerald in there could possibly, that is the immediate last caller, could probably be engaged with in the continuation of the negotiations that the minister has said will be the case. That nothing is like, look, apart from the matter of calling off the strike, we will continue as it was yesterday. And I don't know how encouraged you are that if everybody is positive about this, and if, because ASUU has always said, there's so many agreements that have not been honored. But if we were to turn over a new page, as it were, you know, and just assume that that is the way it shall be, because everybody has heard that ad nauseum, that government doesn't keep to its agreements. You know, I wonder. But just before I've just got a call has just come for that we lost the first time. He's calling in from Arochukwu. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning, our guest.
Good morning,
Sayori, let us face the reality of life. The problem Nigeria is facing is this, what we call listening skill. Research has shown that Nigerians don't have listening skill. Only 20% have listening skill. Now, what we have by listening skill? Look at 7 months. If we have listening human beings in any environment or any situation like that, with 80%, they could have done something good before these 7 months. The pro-chancellors, the vice-chancellors, all these things are political appointees. They must speak in favor of the payer of the Bible. That is what. So when they talk that, I will advise you, let us face the reality of life. After the program, tell your people in Soka, Enugu State, to go to the University of Nigeria. I don't look at the big truth. And let that one go to Futo or where. You go there, in Futo, let me give an example. They have NNDC house. How many? They are supposed to be 4 in a room, but how many are there? They are now 10. Inside double bunk, and they are paying 45,000 naira per bed space. You come to Soka, the hostel they were using now that way hostel for days. They are supposed to be put in there. All of them are they have collapsed. Nobody cares about it. Now come back to Spanot, other unit just on the day. Now, a lecturer, that's a lecture room that's meant for 200 students. They are up to over 500 students. And even students and lecturers struggle how to enter the lecture room. That you say having problem, the lecturers and the students, which is a very problem. That's what ASUU is talking. Let us face that. Even when the minister for labor said contract, acceptance and offer, I was asking because acceptance and offer in business law, written by Adesa, if we commercial law, says it's a contract. That is the definition of a contract, acceptance and offer. But he will use it as a thought. The minister is still going back to that theory of what the ASUU and federal government is doing is a contract basis. But the best thing for us is this. Whether we go to appeal court or Supreme Court, education, health, and security, these are the 3 cardinal things a government must produce in a country. Do you know what we are talking? Nigeria is a very, we tolerate everything. If this is to be in Sri Lanka or Mali, all these things will not come on board. Because we tolerate everything that because we want our government to work. Now, government allow this thing to boil up. Do you think if this thing go back to second NSAS, can the government sign it? They cannot. We are not praying for it. So government should find that the lawyers or the judges were there that saying that, I don't know the type of the constitution they put it. Let them go and do what the International Labour Organization, let them go to this about the law of employment, employee and employer. Let them go back there and reverse it. Because, because
All right, Mazi, I've got to butt in a bit there, but I want to thank you very much, especially for calling back again after we dropped the first call. And now over to you, Dr. Sado. I asked if you were optimistic that in these difficult times, because this certainly hasn't gone the way ASUU would have liked, can you still find room to be optimistic in the minister's statement that nothing is preventing or there is no destabilization of the talks, the ongoing talks, and because, as you know, all people in society have been trying to come in on this. And taking the point that you have made, as well as Dan has made in studio, that it's education holistically that we're talking about, not any one headline-grabbing aspect of it, but the holistic aspect of education and its funding. Are you optimistic that with this kind of an attitude, assuming the ground, all other things are equal, that we might make progress?
I think whether or not we should put our faith or our hope in this negotiation is for Nigerians to decide. I am not a judge in that respect because we have told our stories of how we have engaged governments, different governments since 2009 up to today, and how governments have continuously breached those contracts. So it's for you and the rest of Nigerians to determine whether we should be hopeful or not. But there are a few issues that Gerard raised that I want to address, and I'm addressing this with a sense of responsibility, saying that one of the biggest challenges we have in our country is that a lot of people are experts in the areas where they know little or nothing about. With due respect to the views expressed by Jan, those views are not correct. When we talk about America, and we talk about America when it's convenient, and he alluded to that, when it's convenient for us to emasculate the public, we use America. But when it is not, when it is convenient to show what Americans do for their public, for their population, nobody says about that. Nobody tells you that America paid rent for people during COVID. Nobody's going to tell you that Germany, as a country, has just nationalized their energy companies because they want to make sure that the people do not suffer. 50% of energy costs in the United Kingdom, as we speak, have been taken up by government. So in those times when people talk about this, they just choose what to say, and we are all victims of the system. So I wish him well if that is his way. But then the point is, at the level of our development, the least we need to do in this.
Well, I'm sort of not too surprised about that because the weather kicked in.
Yes.
Mr. Lawale is on the line. Good morning, Mr. Lawale. Thank you very much for holding on. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Professor Yori Folani. I'm an erudite scholar over there.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, the erudite scholar. I'm not even a member of ASUU. Carry on, please.
Okay, please, just have a few comments. Look, the judge took the easiest escape route from that case. The dispute has two sides. The lecturers have their own grievances. The judge just said, okay, go back to class. Why the negotiation? What about the government that refused to implement all the processes? One. Two, in those days when we were in the university, okay, in the 70s, there was what we call scholarship and also bursary. The then Ondo State government gave me bursary, okay, for 4 years. My father did not pay anything. Nowadays, there is no provision for scholarship and there is no provision for bursary. Thirdly, the government cannot manage the existing university. Both the government and the National Assembly, they've turned university protecting to constituency projects. They cannot fund the existing ones, so cannot.
All right.
In my former university, University of Calabar, all the structures are dilapidated. Whereas we enjoyed basically everything in those days. And the people who are at the end of affairs now, they enjoy the same thing with me. Please, let them check their conscience. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawale, and indeed for holding on all that while.
Yeah.
Abios really sacrificed if need be, because I didn't. when you lecturers are talking, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yes.
That meant that they had to hold on extra long.
Yes.
But so we go back to the central point of this whole issue, from ASUU's point of view, especially, which is holistic educational infrastructure. That is it. That is what is being spoken about. And you seem to say that people just, in fact, even I think Mr. Olawale was saying, no, it wasn't. It was Comrade Sadu who was saying that people are cherry picking in commenting on these issues publicly. Take what suits the argument of the moment. But surely, this is the good thing with intellectuals. You can sit down here and sift out all the chaff from the grain, and as I said, you people are going to teach.
One thing that must be understood is that ASUU members are not from one family. So it's not as if there's a stereotype way of reasoning. Within ASUU, you find people who are even against strike, who will tell you, think outside the box. Now, but we've equally asked over time, give us the next option.
Okay.
If this is not the right option or the right tool to apply, show us what to do. They've not been able including the outside, the larger society who have always said ASUU is always going. Nobody has been able to give us any particular strategy that can compel government to do the needful.
Okay, so
government over the years have taken agreements, signed agreements. This one will come and say, oh, it was the last government that did it, as if they never used the facilities the last government, left for them that they inherited. So we have had this challenge. Now, how can we even trust the current government? Should there be any agreement? Because they've appointed several committees that have given their reports that they never even attended to.
I think I've just maybe less than 1 minute left, and I wanted to see if Comrade Austin Sado had a last word for us on this subject matter. Comrade Sado, I was talking...
Well, I think my thoughts were truncated the last time, so I do not know exactly what
well, unfortunately, that was inclement weather.
Okay.
Inclement weather, we're sorry.
No problem. The point is that...
final words now, in about 20 seconds.
No problem. We have a problem in our hands as a national disaster. All officers who are involved should ensure that we give our university a facelift. Getting a court injunction to force lecturers back to the university is not a solution. It has never been and will never be a solution.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Comrade Austin Sado, National Investment Secretary of ASUU. It's a fine place to leave it. We really appreciate your time this morning, sir. And the same thing goes with Dr. Dan Ekere of the Department of Philosophy, University of Lagos. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on.
It was a pleasure.
Giving us the benefit of your perspectives on this important issue. Okay, so that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.